be our guest. Be our guest. Put our service to the test.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today we're covering another Disney classic, believe it or not, Beauty and the Beast.
And I finally got to see it. You've seen it first already, right?
Mostly, yes.
So this is a film that's one of the great original love stories that's become a timeless classic for hundreds of Disney fans. And we're finally watching it together and covering it for the first time. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, keep playing some future podcasts and little pause videos.
And thank you for joining us today, subscribing, sharing our videos, and so much more. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
So Beauty and the Beast is a 1991 film, as we mentioned, through Disney. It's a musical, romantic, fantasy film.
Yes, it's all the same.
And it's actually based on the 1756 fairy tale written by Jean-Marie Le Prince de Beaumont.
Oh my gosh, is that old?
In turn, an abridged version of the 1740 story by Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve was also written. So they consulted both of those original works to make this one. If any of you are familiar with either of these 1700 works, let us know in the comments.
Right.
It also incorporates, believe it or not, ideas from the 1946 French film directed by Jean Cocteau. So this was basically a French production all the way around, Americanized.
Right. An amalgamation of all these past versions, which is not a bad idea. And with this, we also know the movie got talked about a little recently at one point because there was a live action remake that was unnecessary in 2017 that made people want to go back and watch the original because that thing existed. And then you also had the specific thing with Disney, really the discussion of Disney no longer doing love story centric movies for quite a few years since Tangled. So people actually started going back to these classics like Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty to either relive that magic or to see, you know, the love stories they've been missing. But this is usually the biggest one to go to for a classic Disney love story.
Yes. And I hadn't seen it before. I really wanted to see it as well as the live action, which we will be watching and reviewing, so stay tuned for that. And I like it. I've heard that Rascal, actually I didn't hear it. Rascal said you either like it or you don't like it. Seems to be the consensus.
Yes,
I did like it. There are things I thought could have been done a little better, but I really did like it.
Right. And the thing they kind of, when they don't care for the film, they say it's more of a Stockholm Syndrome movie for Belle. She only liked the Beast because she was stuck with them. It was like, I don't think that was the message, but okay, now that'd be Holly and Art of this. But,
yes.
But I don't think it was that. It's hilarious they say that, but I don't think it was that. It was more of those virtues that the Disney female leads used to have, where they were showing self-sacrifice and selflessness for ones they love, whether they were family, friends, neighbors, or their love interests. They showed that they could not only think for themselves, but also think of others. And I think, if I remember, Belle was sort of the standout girl in here. One, because she wore blue. No one else in this town wore blue for some reason. And she, I guess, was a little more upbeat than a lot of these other people in her town, which is saying a lot because they all got their little quirks when they have the song. So,
and I think what was interesting is that's what made her stand out. She wasn't there where other people. Gaston was interested in the women.
Oh gosh,
and they were
the type of people.
They were voluptuous,
yes,
and they were like Hollywood beauty types and so
exactly.
forth. But he wasn't interested in them. They were all over him and chasing him.
Right. What?
He wanted the plain girl who was smart. And I thought that was interesting because he's like horrible. But
why?
He wanted the plain girl that was smart.
Why?
And I guess virtuous. Because he's so unvirtuous, I guess he wanted the opposite.
I guess so. So looked like he was still a cabbage. And yes, and you have to mention Gaston because he's one of those classic Disney villains, but for a whole different reason. He didn't have magic. He wasn't royalty. He wasn't even a prince or anything. He was just this really overzealous, very vain hunter man that thought he was the best guy in town and possibly the world, and how great he is. A whole song about how great he is and how no one else is like him.
And it's like
hilarious.
everyone else in the town or the village fell for his crap.
Right. It's like, you believe this guy? He's an A, double S.
And there's nothing in this movie that gives him a redemption arc or redeeming quality.
Nope.
And that is well appreciated, because now there seems to be a trend of trying to make villains all have redemption arcs, and they all can't be redeemed.
Or you feel sorry for them.
redeemable.
Or you feel sorry for them, or we'll excuse them committing murders and crimes because they were hurt as a child and been through crap. So you have to feel, no, they're destroying lives. No, I can't feel sorry for them.
So this is one of those Disney movies that sticks with the villain, a true villain.
Yes.
The hero, a hero. Romance, and the things that made Disney movies great. So we were still having that here.
Right.
Now here's some interesting things about this movie. First, the film was directed by Gary Trustell and Kirk Wise, and it was their first directorial debuts, and produced by Don Hahn from a screenplay by Linda Wolverton. So she put all these different elements together. Actually, this movie went through so many changes. They attempted to adapt Beauty and the Beast into an animated film back in the 1930s as well as the 1950s.
Really?
And both attempts were unsuccessful.
Wow, okay.
Following the success of Little Mermaid in 1989, they decided to give it a go again. And this time they ended up doing something that was successful.
Right.
But it went through so many changes of scripts and screenplays and things getting scrapped. They tested it as an unfinished film at the New York Film Festival in September of 91. And then it was released theatrically at the El Capitan Theater in November. It grossed $331 million at the box office worldwide, and they knew that they had done it right.
Right.
So the budget was actually only $25 million.
Really?
And it grossed over $424 million.
Wow.
So this is, quickly I'm going to say, the process Disney used to do in trying and adapting and going back, which is fine. Sometimes things don't work the first time, the second time, or the third time.
Yes.
But they didn't give up, and they kept testing the climate to see when would be a good time
Right.
to try it again. And I really wish they did that now, but they don't. It's like, whether this is good or not, we're putting this out. If you don't like it, oh well. And they don't
move on
seem
to the
to
next
even
film.
care that they lose money doing this.
Yeah, and it's so weird when you see it that we keep going to these older films that are hand-drawn in 2D or both pretty much, and we see how low the budget is for the film, and then the profit is quadruple what it took to make it. And not just because of the animation, but because of the story of good winning over evil and having true love and all these elements. We're understanding even more and more now why these things were important to Disney in the first place. And we don't know about the live action remake, but clearly it was missing heart or something that this original had,
And I
that
can't
they
wait
kept
to watch it.
right,
I really
that
can't.
they kept trying with the film till they got it just right. Now let's make it under a year or a year time, and then get it out so we can get it out for Thanksgiving. If that doesn't work, we'll try it again. We'll do the same exact process each year. So it's just so weird to see.
Now, there was an IMAX version released in 2002 that included a new song called Human Again.
Oh.
And it was originally an 8-minute storyboarded musical sequence that they replaced with something there in the 1991 movie.
Oh,
Go
okay.
figure.
Oh, okay.
So what's really great about this is that it has some excellent songs. Of course, Be Our Guest
Right.
and Belle. And they actually won Oscars for Golden Globes and Oscars or Academy Awards for Best Picture. They were nominated, I should say, for Best Picture at the 64th Academy Awards, and the film won the Academy Award for Best Original Score and Best Original Song for the title song. And they received additional nominations for Belle and Be Our Guest. I'm going to get it right.
Right.
And lastly, sorry guys, and lastly there was a Broadway musical that came out in 2007. So this is a really popular story, not only to have two books done in the 1700s by two women, one who wrote it, and then a second who adapted it and wrote her own version a second time.
Right.
And then Disney to come along in the 19th and the 20th and 21st centuries and adapt it in many ways. It doesn't seem like it's going to go away for a long time. Besides having the live action movie, there was also a TV series, live action, that ran on NBC, and it starred Linda Hamilton and Hellboy.
It's Ron Palmer.
Yeah, he was the Beast. I never saw it, but I do remember seeing that it was really popular at that time. So again, the story doesn't seem like it's going to go away anytime soon.
Exactly, right. And another thing when we're watching it is that, you know, they said, oh, Disney goes back to doing simple movies. Well, in here, yes. As much as they went through a lot of this process and things to make it and trying until they finally didn't have a long, tumultuous production, it really is a simple movie at the end of the day.
Yes.
But it's a simple movie with a lot of detail. And I think that's what a lot of the modern movies are missing. Simple film, simple plot, but there's so much within it that it keeps you engaged.
It's also similar to Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yes.
And a couple others that came out during that time. It looks like Disney was going for a different aesthetic and feel in their movies.
Doing these stories.
Yes, in those stories. And encapsulated that.
Right.
Lastly, I want to mention there was a 2022 musical presentation of the film
Again.
on ABC as part of the Wonderful World of Disney.
You're
So
joking.
again, this is going nowhere anytime soon because
Right.
Disney's redoing everything. So then we know there's
Right.
going to be a remake, probably live
Again.
action and animated.
Again, yeah.
So let's give a shout out to the voice cast quickly. We have Paige O'Hara as Belle, who was a bibliophile and she loved to read all the time. Robbie Benson as Beast, which really surprised me. We also have Richard White as Gaston, Jerry Orbach as Lumiere, David Ogden Steers as Cogsworth, Angela Lansbury, the great Angela Lansbury, as Mrs. Potts, Bradley Pierce as Chip, Rex Everhart as Morris, Jesse Cordy as LaFoe, Joanne Worley as the Wardrobe, Hal Smith as Philippe, Mary Kay Bergman and Kate Susie both as the Bimbettes,
Yeah.
Jack Angel, Bill Proctor, Bill Farmer, and Patrick Finney as
Lots
Tom,
of-
Dick, Stanley, and Gramps.
Lots of VAs, yeah.
Brian Cummings as the Stove, Alvin Epstein as the Bookseller, Tony J as Monsieur d'Arc, Alec Murphy as the Baker, Kimmy Robertson as the Feather Duster, and last and certainly not least, Frank Welker as Sultan,
Yes.
the castle's pet dog, turned into a footstool. I love the ending because I was very surprised. I knew nothing about this story, and I can imagine when this originally released in the 1700s, people loved it
Yeah.
because nothing like that had been written, even amongst the Grimm's fairy tales and Hans Christian Andersen. This story like this hadn't been done.
Right. And another thing about the ending is that you really love, of course, the element of true love winning and seeing underneath the surface. And I think this is probably the best example of seeing under the surface when it comes to someone liking someone else despite flaws, despite how they look and everything, because this story has become slightly, not infamous, but in a comedic way, that, you know, at the end of the film, when the curse is lifted, Beast turns human. Well, you knew she didn't want Gaston because he was a jerk. You knew she was going to have with the...
Unless somebody who was...
Well, the bimbos did, so...
The Bimbettes.
Right, the Bimbettes. When he transformed at the end of the film, returned to being human. I think they enjoyed the Beast a little too much. They enjoyed how he looked already, for several reasons. But when Beast transformed to human, his design now, years later, people come forward as like, you know, his human form's a little underwhelming. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just like, that's not the face you expected
Because
to
of
be
what they've
underneath.
done in the past, right?
And she even Belle's like, oh, that's you? And they were like, people were like, I thought he would look more rugged. They thought he would have a beard, look more manly, and like, oh, he's a little clean shaven.
I think he matched her. She was plain.
It was like,
so they went together.
And what was funny is that after that, and the sequel they did for the holiday, they never used that human form again. He kind of, Disney just sticks with the Beast, staying the Beast the whole time. People draw him as the Beast. That's just it. They just accept it to them like, they have done the message so well. They accepted the beast is the main form, not the human form. They're like, no, stay as the beast.
Oh
You
my
could-
So lastly, quickly, there were direct-to-video sequels.
Oh,
Beauty
two.
and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas, as you mentioned.
Okay.
Beauty and the Beast, Belle's Magical World.
Okay.
And the prequel, Belle's Tales of Friendship. And I bet you that Mega TriStar has probably watched all of them. If you have, let us know in the comments.
Yes.
And if you've seen any of them, let us know as well.
Yes.
So if you've seen lastly Beauty and the Beast, the original 1991 film, let us know in the comments. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it something that you watched along, as I mentioned, with Hunchback of Notre Dame and those type of movies from that era?
Mhm.
Let us know in the comments. If you haven't, you should be able to find it available to watch for free somewhere on Tubi or Freevee or something. If not, it's on Disney Plus. For
Right,
sure.
of course.
We watched it on DVD from the library. You can
Yes.
try that as well.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting. We love your comments. And so much
Yes.
more. As always,
You are special. Thank you so much for watching Rascal Entertainment.
and I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.